It's Friday, time for Rock Solid Sports.
The Tennessee Volunteers on a Neyland Stadium football Saturday afternoon come running through the tee.
Voted Blank News Knoxville's finest sports show.
It's football time in Tennessee.
Sponsored by The Hill Bar and Grill in the Fort on Forest Avenue.
To the checkerboards. Touchdown, Tennessee.
Rock Solid Sports, the only show with a home field advantage for UT Athletics. Here's tonight's host.
Welcome into Friday nights on Rock Solid Sports. This is your host here, Chloe Levering, and I am joined by Tucker Harlan in the studio. We also got Dom down at the Hill Bar and Grill, which is our sponsor for tonight's show. Dom, how's it looking down at the Hill tonight?
It's looking great down here. Having a great time here as always. Starting to think this place is allergic to a bad time.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, we got some little... I don't know what's happening, but we'll figure it out. We have technical difficulties, and I think I'm pretty good at figuring out. We'll figure it out. But I wanted to get into tonight is a very special edition of Rock Solid Sports. We also got Devin Hoke on StreamYard. Also, I wanted to mention, tonight is a very special edition of Rock Solid Sports because we are joined by student media at WPTS. That is in Pittsburgh to talk about tomorrow's top 25 matchup. The Johnny Majors Classic is back for another time, but this time it's up in Pittsburgh over on StreamYard. Alexander and Nick, how are y'all doing tonight? And thank you so much for joining us, by the way, as well.
Sorry, I was muted.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I mean, we've had a pretty good day. Thanks for having us. I'm Alexander Ganias. I'm the sports student director for sports at WPTS Radio, 92.1 Pittsburgh. We're Pitt student radio station. Glad to be here. And I mean, it's been a tough week because school, but we're getting through it. We're getting through it 1 week at a time.
Yeah, it's been a great week leading up to this game too. I feel a different type of energy than it was last week with the West Virginia game, but definitely one of hype. So I'm excited about this. I really am.
Right. First, I kind of wanted to mention, so obviously, once again, so glad to have you all here. I kind of wanted to mention that game that happened last week, in my opinion, one of the most intense games in week one, Pittsburgh versus West Virginia in the backyard brawl. That was definitely one of the most entertaining games in my opinion, but Pittsburgh made it, I don't want to say barely squeaked by, but, like we were saying earlier, got lucky, right?
It was a very interesting play there at the end. JT Daniels really threw a perfect ball to his receiver, but unfortunately the receiver just failed to catch it, and there was not a defender within 2 yards of him too, which is really upsetting if you're a West Virginia fan. So that had to happen.
Yeah, and to make it more upsetting, the receiver, Bryce Ford-Wheaton, had caught 2 touchdowns earlier in the game. So you go to that receiver, he's been your guy the entire game. He burned Devonshire on that play. He's been burning the entire Pitt secondary, and it just goes in and out of his hands, over his head, and into the waiting arms of Devonshire, which, yes, you could say you got lucky, but at the same time, you got to be good to be lucky. You got to be lucky to be good. So so I don't want to say Pitt didn't earn that win because I feel like they did, but you could say that there was some luck involved.
Back and forth all day. I mean, there was a ton of luck even with West Virginia in that game too. There were a few heave balls JT Daniels threw on like 3rd and 15s that just somehow tipped around and ended up in the hands of a West Virginia receiver. I mean, it was truly a game where you felt that rivalry, right? Like it was a sloppy, dirty game that was not pretty. I'll say this, there's never been a pretty backyard brawl. There has never been a pretty backyard brawl, and that certainly wasn't a pretty one. So both of those teams just fought their hardest and their heart out. And so that final play, I think, was really indicative of that too, where you had the almost catch, and it was a heart stopper all the way.
For sure. I like I was saying, definitely super it's just definitely a game that I was tuned in to watch. Sorry, I'm gonna go back to Dom here. Dom, can you say something? And Annalisa, or you guys on StreamYard, tell me if you can hear Dom.
All right. Yeah, that was a great game between Pitt and West Virginia. Just really cool to see two transfer quarterbacks go at it. But lots to take from that game for sure.
Can y'all hear him? Devin, can you hear Dom? Oh.
Yeah. Dom sounds good on our end.
Okay, it sounds really weird in my headphones. Anyways, yeah. As Dom was saying, like, definitely super interesting game. Devin, any comments on that before we get into what is going to be happening next week with Tennessee? This week, tomorrow.
Yeah,
tomorrow. I can't speak tonight.
Yes.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, and of course we are very excited. I truly believe the game between Tennessee and Pittsburgh is going to be one of the best games of the weekend. It was epic last season. I think it's going to be epic again. That game between Pitt and West Virginia, we got to learn a lot of interesting things about your guys' team this year. I don't know about you guys, but I was kind of surprised about how much Pittsburgh threw the ball in that game against West Virginia. Obviously, new change and offensive coordinator. Whipple's gone at Nebraska. You guys brought in this new guy that I thought was going to be, running the ball quite a bit. You guys have a really good offensive line, good running backs. I don't know. Were you guys surprised about how much you guys passed the ball? I mean, Slovis looked pretty good. He was looking like the old Slovis, but I was wondering for your guys' opinions on that.
Yeah, I mean, not really. So here's the thing about Pitt. I think they came into the game with, that 7 offensive lineman game plan where they went heavy. Like they played, I think, heavy personnel like 45% of the time. And that's like a legitimate stat. So they played that a ton of the time against West Virginia. I think they came into the game thinking their strength was going to be running the football. It had been all summer. And then kind of what ends up happening is your strength that you thought was going to be your strength isn't actually your strength. I think Pitt figured out by halftime, we're better throwing the football. And so they did. They opened it up. And quite honestly, at halftime, their offense looked lethargic. In that second half, they moved the ball up and down the field kind of at will at times. Very similar to last year at times, especially that final drive to tie up the game where Keaton Slovis took them 92 yards in 6 plays. That was surgical. And so I think they figured out, listen, man, we got the talent, the receiver and running back and tight end. And I think our identity is throwing the football. And that's kind of what happens. Things change on a whim like that in week 1. And that's why week 1 is a very, very interesting week always in college football.
And if I can kind of continue off of that, your wide receiver room, at least the 3 main wide receivers from what I saw in the game, Jared Wayne, Bub Means, and Kanata Mumfield, the latter 2 transfers, Mumfield from Akron, Means from, I think, Louisiana Tech. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so it's really transfers all around at the skill position, except at running back, which is Izzy Abanikanda returning, Rodney Hammond returning, Vincent Davis returning. And I think they're still going to try to use the run game because before Rodney Hammond left for injury, he was probably the hardest guy to tackle on Pitt's side. He was bouncing off of guys. The offensive line was pushing him through. He was quite literally the hardest person to tackle. And Izzy took over when he got injured in the game, and he stepped up in big ways. I mean, he had the game-tying touchdown, Izzy did. So this week, I'm not quite sure if Hammond's going to get any touches. I think he's still injured. I think he's still out. I can't be sure on that. But Izzy's going to get a lot of touches. And I personally love Izzy. I mean, he's from New York. I'm from New York. There's that connection there. But I said that he's going to have to step up big time to get, significant touches if Hammond's going to play like he's been playing. Pre-injury, of course.
Right. Well, something that obviously going back to Tennessee last week, played Ball State, is a win 59-10. But something that was definitely a critique of Tennessee, if we had any, was obviously there was 0 sacks. We saw 0 sacks, how the defense was kind of worrying some people. Going into this Pittsburgh game, though, obviously I want to talk about, we already mentioned him a little bit, Keenan Slovis. Every game, that happened with West Virginia, the week 1 game. My brain is so frazzled today. Sorry. Anyways, that we hear the commentators and you hear many people talking about his athleticism, how he's able to run, how he's just able to go. And so I'm wondering about Keenan Slovis matching up with this Tennessee defense, and if there's going to be, a possible way that maybe Tennessee, maybe he could slip through there. Maybe they're going to look weak. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, Keaton Slovis, he's not a Kenny Pickett mobile type. I know that happened a lot last year in this matchup where Kenny Pickett slipped out and made a lot of plays outside of the pocket. Slovis isn't that, but he can do it, and we saw him do it a few times. Again, I go back to that final drive where they drove 92 yards in 6 plays. On one of those plays, he escapes to the right side, finds Kanade Mumfield for a 20-yard rip down the sideline. He can do that. But I'll also say this, it's a double-edged sword because he ran himself into sacks last week doing that too. So, yes, you are able to extend those plays, but guess what? You can also run yourself into sacks. And listen, Tennessee has Tyler Barron, Byron Young on those end sides. They have a few good ends. I think where it becomes interesting, actually, is the interior of Tennessee. That interior D-line, who's going to step up? Is it Omari Thomas? Is it Elijah Simmons, Bryson Easton, someone like that? Because what West Virginia did really well last week was they penetrated well from the inside. And I thought that stuck out as a big thing for them. They pushed Keaton Slovis out. If Keaton Slovis is able to sit in the pocket and just kind of scan and read, I think that's where you get Keaton Slovis at its best. So I think you want to get Keaton Slovis on the move a little bit. Force him to get a little happy-footed in the pocket. Force him to make a bad decision because if you don't blitz him up the middle and don't get pressure from that spot, Keaton Slovis is going to eat you up.
That's a great point, and obviously that's something that concerns me a lot as a Tennessee Vols fan because West Virginia has Dante Stills, who is just an absolute monster inside, and Tennessee. And look, I believe in our guys, but Tennessee does not have a Dante Stills type guy in the middle. That being said, the Tennessee defense showed a lot of improvement against Ball State. But again, it is just Ball State. They were dealing with a new quarterback. I, in a lot of ways, wish Tennessee had a better matchup against a better team so we could see more of what their defense is truly capable of heading into this matchup. But yeah, that's my biggest concern for Tennessee is pressure to the quarterback, especially when you guys have such a good offensive line there. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of creative packages they could put together. On that side, what do you guys think is going to be Pitt's strategy on defense going up against Hendon Hooker? No need to really go into how good he is. He's a projected, first, second round draft pick at quarterback, highly efficient, very mobile. What do you think is going to be Pittsburgh's plan to shut down Hooker tomorrow?
I guess just looking at the tape, just try to limit the runs. I mean, from Hooker or from Tennessee's running backs. I mean, against West Virginia, what was it? C.J. Donaldson, I think his name was, the tight end, first-year tight end from West Virginia, and he had over 120 yards rushing because Pitt's defense was just like Swiss cheese, full of holes when it came to him. He scored a couple touchdowns. He absolutely ate up the defense there. So I guess my big worry is just, stop the run very simply. Hooker is very mobile. I just remember from last year, I think his name was Joe Milton, I believe. He had the arm strength, but he looked like a deer in the headlights in the pocket almost, at least in my eyes. He didn't really move around that much. And then I think he got hurt, and then Milton came in, and when I was watching that game, Milton really was a completely different quarterback in the pocket. I mean, we were watching him run around, and I looked at my friends watching the game, and I said to them, we might lose this game. I mean, obviously we didn't, but he definitely has that impact. So if they can keep him off the ground and try to keep him in the pocket, try to force him to throw, I'm not necessarily have much faith in Pitt's secondary, to be honest, but at the same time, I think if they just get him to throw I think the defensive line can really, really pressure them and maybe get a few sacks in there as well.
Yeah. On that note about the defensive line, you guys have produced a lot of NFL caliber players up there at Pitt. Obviously, we know about Aaron Donald. I was actually fortunate enough to see him play in college down at the Birmingham Bowl in 2012. Of course, there's my personal favorite, Rashad Weaver, plays for the Titans now. And I know y'all got stars on that end. So what's kind of the expectation there? Who do you think is really going to emerge as that star up front there for Pitt?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few candidates for this title, but I think the star is Kalijah Cansey, who plays in that middle. This guy's explosive. I mean, we're talking about a crazy explosive athlete in Kalijah Cansey. He should not be able to move the way he does. Now, he's a little undersized, but he wreaks havoc. And last year in this matchup, he wreaked havoc. Another guy that wreaked havoc in this matchup last year, Habakkuk Baldonado. He's a guy that was quiet last week. Don't expect that again from him. He's a guy that when he has a down game, usually the next week he comes back with a vengeance. Literally, I think last year it was after every game he didn't get a sack last year. I think he got a sack in the next game, and so this is a guy that consistently shows up. And then I think the sleeper here is John Morgan, who just had a phenomenal game against West Virginia. Deslin Alexander, the senior captain of this defensive line, has a shoulder injury and might not play in this game. But John Morgan, his replacement, came in 3 tackles for loss, a sack. Probably should have had 2 sacks in this game. So he was unbelievable, and he's another explosive player. But the star's Kalijah Cansey on the interior, and then he's bookended on the sides by Baldonado and Morgan. And there's so much depth on this group with Dayon Hayes, Devin Danielson, David Green, Nate Temple. Like, there's so many names here, and they're all so good. But those are the 3 names to know in this one. And obviously, if Alexander plays as well, the senior leader of this group, a very good, was having a great game before he went out. So if he plays, he's another name.
Yeah, well, I wanted to also bring up the fact a lot of people are saying, not that we care what the people say, right? No, just kidding. A lot of people are saying, this game could either not necessarily say make it or break it for Tennessee, but some people are predicting this will be very indicative of the rest of Tennessee's season, of how the season is going to go. This matchup versus Pittsburgh, obviously playing a team like Ball State, we saw a little bit, but we didn't see a lot of how the Tennessee season is going to go, considering it's Ball State. For Pittsburgh, though, what do you guys think you will get out of this game for Pittsburgh? Is this a big deal for Pitt as it is for Tennessee, or I mean, do you think it's going to show anything about how the rest of your all season is going to go?
I'm gonna be quite honest. When I saw the schedule first, I saw the non-conference schedule for Pitt. It was West Virginia, Tennessee, Western Michigan, and then Rhode Island. I looked at that schedule, and obviously West Virginia was the biggest game, in terms of marketing. Obviously, it's the big rivalry. They've been playing for over a century. It's the first time they play in 10 years, all that stuff, all that hype. But I looked at that schedule and said Tennessee's going to be the hardest game. I mean, you look at the game they played last year. Tennessee came out of the gate, ready to go, and Pitt had to come from behind, I think from a double-digit deficit. And I look at the Tennessee schedule, and you're probably right. I mean, the other non-conference games were Ball State, who you beat by 7 touchdowns, another MAC team in Akron, and then you have Tennessee Martin, the FCS opponent, later down the line there. And this is probably like the peak for the non-conference schedules, at least I think, for both teams, for Pitt and Tennessee. Like I said last year, Tennessee gave Pitt a run for their money in Neyland Stadium over a crowd of 80-something thousand. Pitt just set the record for all Pittsburgh sports with 70,000. I can't imagine the atmosphere is going to be the same, but the atmosphere will be there, and it's Tennessee's first trip to Pittsburgh ever. So there are a lot of storylines that don't even have to talk about that aren't even about football. It's a huge game, I think, for both sides. I think each side sees this, not like you said, not necessarily make or break, but yeah, I guess that's the closest thing I can say is make or break. Nick, if you want to continue.
Yeah. Well, let me talk about the implications for Pitt because listen, Pitt didn't move up the AP poll at all this week. I mean, they stagnated 17. They lose this game, they could drop out of the AP top 25. I don't think that's crazy to think. If they win this game, though, you talked about Western Michigan, Rhode Island, then they play Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech, two of the worst teams in the ACC. Listen, they win this game, they're staring at 6-0 probably heading into their bye week in mid-October. Pitt's going to be top 10 if that happens. We're talking about legit playoff contention type talk right there. And so that's the implication here for Pitt. And if they're 6-0 going into their bye week, everyone's going to take Pitt seriously. That's what is the big thing you look at in this game. That's what it means for Pitt.
Both teams definitely have a lot to lose for sure. Pitt started out ranked. Tennessee just now has gotten ranked, and losing this game will cause one of these teams. I think one of these teams is not going to be in the top 25 after this.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. Because Tennessee's just barely in it, and then Pittsburgh, if they were to lose to a team that's a pretty significant amount below them, they may drop out too. But you know what? They play in the ACC Coastal, and the rest of the Coastal is pretty down right now, which is good news for Pitt. I mean, outside of probably Miami, I think that's probably the biggest competition right now that I see for you guys in the ACC Coastal.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just agreeing with him. Yeah, that's pretty much accurate. I mean, North Carolina is probably the second closest, and it's like Miami, North Carolina, and then like everyone else in a way.
I want to know what the atmosphere is up right. I want to know what the atmosphere is like up there right now, because I know for Tennessee this is a big revenge game. Everybody's really invested. We really want to win this one. Is it as big of a deal up there in Pittsburgh, or are people expecting to win this one pretty easily since they took it last year?
I actually think it's the opposite. I hear a lot of pessimism here. I think a lot of people expect to lose this game. Like everyone, here's what I know with Pitt fans. It doesn't matter if they just won the ACC championship. They're the most pessimistic bunch of fans I've ever seen in sports. They expect the worst to happen to them at all times. And so that's what I'm feeling. There's a lot of hype, obviously, around a top 25 matchup with an SEC team coming to town. There's that. But honestly, I think a lot of people think Pitt is going to lose this game. And people, when you talked about people in the preseason predictions are like, yeah, 10-2, we're going to lose to Tennessee and Miami. And they chalk those up already. Like there's no chance to win those games. So honestly, I'm almost feeling more pessimism from this type of crowd out here rather than optimism, even though I think there should be more optimism towards this game. But there's a crowd, obviously, that's excited about it because of the implications in the top 25 matchup. It's prime time on ABC and all of that stuff. But there's honestly a lot of pessimism up here in Pittsburgh about this one.
And to continue, I think a lot of Pitt fans saw this is what happens when you have their biggest rival play at the beginning of the season and not at the end of the season. Like it's been everyone is focusing on this game. Pitt, West Virginia, 70,000 people in the stadium, millions more watching at home in Pittsburgh, in Morgantown, everywhere else in the world, right? Listening to WPTS maybe. But this game has kind of flown under the radar, but not because it's not a big matchup. It's just because it proceeds probably the biggest, at least atmospheric game on the schedule. And to kind of go off what Nick said, there are a lot of people in Pittsburgh worried about this game. I personally don't think Pitt can win this game. I think they can win. I just don't think they will. Because like you said last year, Tennessee is ramped up. Oh, we lost to this team last year. We're going to get them this time. And honestly, that's our idea with Western Michigan this year for the week after, which is a little sad, but you can't change what happened. I'm trying to be as kind of indifferent as possible, trying to see both sides of it because I don't want to get too hyped up for this game. Next thing you know, I'm so excited that Pitt might win and then they lose, or I'm just so downtrodden that Pitt might lose and then they win. I'm a college student. I don't need all that emotional stress.
Yeah, it's so funny you guys say that because before this season started for us, I was picking Pittsburgh to beat Tennessee here. I was like, well, I mean, it's funny just to keep, the expectations a little lower. I'm like, hey, they went into Neyland. They beat Tennessee last season. I don't see any reason why they can't win it at home. They've got a very complete team. I mean, honestly, I really think there should be more optimism for you guys in Pittsburgh there with this team. To me, this is really a toss-up. It really, really is. Tennessee and Pittsburgh. Forget the rankings for a second. I think they are really, really evenly matched. Just the way these two teams match up against each other offensively, defensively, very different styles, should make for such a fun matchup. To be honest now, though, if I had to repick it, I would pick Tennessee to win in a very, very close game, though. I think this really will be an epic battle.
Let's do score predictions, yeah. I think I remember earlier before Ball State, before the season started, I think I say a lot of things, so it's hard for me to keep up with it. But I think I said, I did. I'm just kidding. I know I said I thought Tennessee would slip up against Pitt. But after I've watched both of these games, I think it's going to be close. But I still think that Tennessee might have a chance to win. The possibility of them slipping up, is there. It's still there. I've been watching Tennessee football for 20 years, so trust me, I know how it goes.
A thing or two about that, yeah.
But we also, like you guys were saying, know a thing or two about, even at the end of the day, we are Tennessee fans, and we are optimistic and end up getting ourselves hurt in the end. So, as an optimistic Tennessee fan, my score prediction is going to be, let's go with something similar to that West Virginia game, like maybe 38-31 Tennessee.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking somewhere in that same window as well, because last year honestly was a pretty similar score, 41-34. I was thinking, maybe it'll be a little bit closer than that, maybe like a 4-point game, maybe a field goal difference. I like maybe a 38-35 game in favor of Tennessee. It's going to be close no matter what it is, I think.
For sure. Nick and Alexander, what are you guys thinking?
I think this one, it's a game. I don't like Pitt's matchup in this one. I really don't. I just think Tennessee's so explosive, and Pitt, I don't think they have that offense that they did last year. I think it's a good offense. I don't think it's Kenny Pickett, Jordan Addison, Mark Whipple score at will, where you can score 55, 60 points a game and it doesn't really matter. I think that Tennessee is going to score a lot of points this one. I think Pitt will too, but I'm not sure if Pitt's going to be able to keep up with Tennessee in this one. I'm taking Tennessee in this one. I think 45-35 in favor of Tennessee. I think we could be talking about Tennessee being up multiple scores at times in this game.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with a 35-31 final score. And I'm not going to pick a final team because honestly, it could, like you said, it could go either way. Probably Tennessee 35-31, but I don't want to completely go on the Tennessee's going to win bandwagon just yet because I do think Pitt can pull it out if they play all their cards right. So I'm just going to say final score 35-31. And, I just hope both teams have a good time.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I'm going to roll with the 41-38 Tennessee winning last second field goal. Hooker having a drive right towards the end and kicking a field goal at the end with just enough time. Because I think this game really could be just one of those classic games that could go either way. But I got to pick Tennessee here.
Give me the Vols, 42-28. I'm thinking a big Vols win here. I'm inclined to agree with the Pitt guys. I think that our offense is just really explosive, and Pitt's offense, was really good against Western Virginia. West Virginia is not as good of an offense as Tennessee, and so I think it'll just be a different game here with Tennessee taking it. But it is funny that you guys are so pessimistic because I went to Steelers and the Penguins game, and they were up the entire time in both these games, and the people in the stands are trash talking their home teams.
That's normal.
That happens.
Oh man, yeah, I really like the point about I think Alexander made about not picking a team because it's just so close. But then the whole time we're saying these predictions until we got to Dom, I was like, imagine if we're just so wrong, and it's like not even close.
These guys,
35-7.
Guys we invited onto our radio show, they're just reverse jinxing the whole time.
All right. Well, are you guys going to be at the game tomorrow?
Yes, we'll be calling it.
Sweet.
Yep.
Look for y'all on TV. I would say help cheer on the Vols, but obviously you won't be doing that. So,
well, if you want to listen to some Pitt perspective on the game, you can tune into WPTS.
Oh, for real? So you guys will be doing it you'll be doing a cast during the game?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. WPTS. Do you guys have online streaming where we can find you?
Yeah. Or if you have a radio and you're in the Pittsburgh area, 92.1 FM. You just look it up on Google and you'll find it somewhere.
Perfect. So online streaming if you're here in Knoxville, listen on WTK. If you're in Pittsburgh for that game, 92.1 FM. Perfect. WPTS. Best of luck, and I don't want to say may the best team win. We'll see who wins. It's going to be super exciting. And thank you you guys for being on our show, Nick and Alexander from WPTS Pittsburgh student run radio station. Thank you guys for being on. That was super fun, and we're looking forward to the game tomorrow.
Of course. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Great guys.
All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back to talk some. I didn't even think that far. Let's talk some Vol soccer.
Probably a little soccer, maybe a little NFL because the Titans are kicking off this week.
Yeah, let's talk some Vol soccer, and then we'll talk some NFL. We're fast with that now. Okay, it's easier in the fall. All right, stay tuned. After this break from our sponsors, we'll be back with some Vol soccer. Stay tuned to 90.3 The Rock, rocking ears for 40 years.
Hey, this is Scooter Christensen from the world-famous Harlem Globetrotters. You're listening to Volunteer Radio 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
The Rock thanks the Hill Bar and Grill for their support. The Hill on Forest Avenue is open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. until late night for dining indoors or on the expanded patio. The Hill has a variety of appetizers and a full menu of wings, burgers, tacos, and more. The Hill is our Thursday Munchie Madness sponsor and home of Friday's Rock Solid Sports. On Instagram at The Hill Knox. Menu at thehillknox.com.
They're playing basketball.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 8th season on the hardwood includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. General public ticket info for UT basketball is at allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says Go Vols basketball.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2022 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesdays through Sundays at nearby Smokies Stadium in Kodak against the Chattanooga Lookouts, Mississippi Braves, Birmingham Barons, and more. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports will cover Smokies Baseball all season long. SmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WUTKRadio.com.
Hey, this is Brian from the band 10 Years. You're listening to Volunteer Radio 90.3 The Rock, Knoxville's musical tastemakers.
Volunteer Radio thanks our on-campus media partner, UTDailyBeacon.com, for their support. The Daily Beacon has served the University of Tennessee Knoxville as the official student editorially independent newspaper since 1906, featuring up-to-date campus and city news, sports, and info on UT and Knoxville events. And the sign-up for the Beacon newsletter is on the website. The Wednesday Daily Beacon is available at over 50 locations on campus, fall and spring semesters, and stories are published daily at UTDailyBeacon.com. The Daily Beacon sponsors WUTK's UT News and Issues show Rocky Top Roundup, Thursday nights at 7 on Volunteer Radio.
Hey, this is Rob.
This is Derek.
From the Funhouse. For over a decade, we've been getting your weekend started right.
So grab a beverage or whatever it is you need to grab and tune in every Friday night at 8 o'clock.
On 90.3 The Rock, Volunteer Radio.
It's the best show in the universe.
And congratulations to Derek and Rob, hosts of the Funhouse, for being voted Knoxville's finest radio celebrities in the Blank Newspaper 2021 Knoxville's Finest Readers Poll. Tune in Friday nights from 8 to 10 and find out why these guys won it without even wearing a suit and tie. The Funhouse, proudly sponsored by Raven Records and Rarities, located in Happy Holler.
WUTK thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pregame and postgame location for UT football, and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans football on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the show's live broadcast from 7 to 8 Monday nights at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. coolbeansbar.com, or their Facebook page.
90.3 The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. Season tickets for the 2022 UT Volunteers football season are on sale now. The next phase of Neyland Stadium renovations will be ready for the new season with home games against Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, and more. Info at allvols.com. A link is at WUTKradio.com. 90.3 The Rock wishes Coach Heupel and the football Vols good luck this season on the gridiron.
Volunteer Radio thanks all who helped to keep us on the air through the Kroger Community Rewards Program. For those who have not enrolled, it's as easy as heading to WUTKradio.com and clicking on the Support WTK banner on the homepage, instantly linking to the Kroger Community Reward page. Log in and connect your Kroger Rewards card, and be sure to designate the WTK Gift Fund as your nonprofit of choice. While enrolled, using a Kroger Plus card allows 10% of most purchases to go directly to our nonprofit WTK Gift Fund, helping to keep Knoxville's best radio station on the air, and it costs nothing extra at all. This also includes purchases made at Nashville area Kroger stores. Spread the word to family and friends to enroll in the Kroger Community Rewards Program today, and please choose the WTK Gift Fund, helping to keep the award-winning, self-supporting student lab and radio station on the air. Thank you for listening and supporting WTK through the Kroger Community Rewards Program. All right, welcome back to Rock Solid Sports on Friday night. If you're just tuning in, we just had an awesome interview with the guys from 92.1 WPTS. That's Pittsburgh student-run radio station. And if you missed that, you can go listen on our StreamYard on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. We streamed them all there, and you can go back and listen to it not live because it was a pretty good interview and made us just even more excited for that top 25 matchup versus Pittsburgh tomorrow in the Johnny Majors Classic. Right now, we're going to get into some soccer, however, but before that, I want to kick it over to Dom over at the Hill Bar and Grill, our sponsor for tonight's show, Forest Avenue, back of the fort, over by World's Fair Park. Dom, how's it going now down at the Hill?
It's going great. Starting to fill up on this Friday night. Fun as always. Great food, great vibes. Got to get down here.
All right, you heard it there. You have food, drinks, vibes, music. So many, there's something for everyone down at the Hill. Of course, they have all sports going on, and sometimes they have like Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy or something random. So there's something for everyone down at the Hill. Let's get into some Vols, Lady Vols soccer. Lady Vols had a game last night versus Kennesaw State, and they won 5-0.
Yep, I was actually there covering the game. And, this one, it got off to a little bit of a slow start, but, Jada Thomas had, I think, maybe 2 near misses, but then the third time I know she hit one. And then after that, she hit another one not too long after.
Yeah.
And then I know the second half, Mackenzie George came out red hot. She had a couple of goals pretty early on. And you can really sense from this team, at least I did from the pressers, that they're very, very relieved to have some of these easier games or matches, rather, on the back end of their non-conference schedule, because they really ran a gauntlet there early. They played UNC and Duke, who are like the top 2 teams in the country right now, and then SMU, another perennial powerhouse in soccer. So they're very thankful to have these games here at the end of their non-conference schedule. They got one against Queens coming up, so that'll be their last big one before they get into SEC play.
Right. Like I was kind of saying a few weeks ago, I think this team's record is not indicative of how they are as a team very much at all, of how good they are, because they've had to play NC State and Duke, right off the bat, which is difficult for any team. But then, this was definitely, great win for the Lady Vols versus Kennesaw State. Pretty much what I expected for sure going into the game. I was there as well. And, it was a good night to be a Lady Vol fan. Not too many fans there because it was a Thursday night game. So that's expected. And it's Kennesaw State.
It's more the fact that it's Kennesaw State, because when they had that Duke game, had a spectacular crowd. I saw all kinds of athletes there for that game. Not even the Locos were there last night. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
usually
weird.
at every Lady Vols game.
Oh, what's her dog?
There was a couple different dogs there.
There was some players, they have cute dogs.
I saw Santiago Vescovi there, but that was really the only person of note that I saw out
him
there
as
last
well
night.
Over on the other side, the far side, yeah. Yeah, definitely, it was a good game. It was just Kennesaw State, like we said, so not a huge crowd. But, I mean, it made me very optimistic for the games coming up with Lady Vols soccer. Any of you guys, Devin or Dom, catch this Lady Vols soccer game?
I was not able to, Chloe, but that is very good news that they won 5-0. Again, I think playing those tougher teams. I know I've already said this already, but I think playing those tougher teams is really gonna make this Tennessee team battle tested, especially when they lost to Duke by just one goal. Just letting Duke get on that run. If that run doesn't happen, Tennessee maybe even wins that game in a shutout. So against one of the top 3 teams in the country. So I think now Tennessee's been battle tested. Now they're just dominating these weaker teams, and that's only going to further build their confidence heading into SEC play, where it's not going to be easy. Any league in the SEC is not easy at all. But these types of victories, they certainly do help. So that's very good news.
Right. Coming up, they got, of course, Queens on Sunday. And after that, it will be into SEC play with Florida and some other teams. I know Ole Miss is number 9, and Alabama is also up there. Alabama's number 16 or 18, sorry. So some very good teams to take on in the SEC. Do we South Carolina number 4? Do we still think Tennessee? Some people are very optimistic about this. Can win the SEC this year, like they did last year.
Yeah,
I definitely think they can. Sorry to cut you off, Tucker, but I was at the game they played just before Kennesaw State. Forgive me for forgetting the team we played.
Bowling Green?
Tennessee Tech.
Tennessee Tech.
We destroyed them, and that was a really good game to see after having watched the Duke game, because it was a tale of 2 teams from Tennessee that I really saw. Because against that Duke team, the team did not look confident. They weren't holding their shape well. They were just booting the ball up the field. Honestly, didn't seem like there was much direction out there. And then at Tennessee Tech, I saw a totally different team. Tactically, they look remarkable. Just great passing, great possession, really getting down the side of the field, working the wings and crossing the ball in. I think this is a really lethal Tennessee team, and just tactically, they've looked remarkable, and I really like what the new coach is doing.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what they do down the stretch because, like I said, UNC and Duke, they're 1 and 2 right now in the nation. And, of course, you got all these other ranked SEC teams coming in to play, both here in Knoxville, and then also Tennessee's got to play, I think, a couple of them on the road as well. But, I think this team has seen tougher competition than what it will see in the SEC already. And that's kind of crazy to think about given how early we are in the season. But I think some of those early battles that Tennessee had to go through are definitely going to help them out in conference play, and I think they can definitely go on a run.
Moving on over to Tennessee volleyball. They are playing the Rocky Top Classic right now. Tonight, it's happening right now. They're in the second set, and they've won the first one. Can they sweep New Hampshire? We'll see. Moving on to this weekend, continuing the Rocky Top Classic, Norfolk State tomorrow at 12, and the Citadel at 6:30. So that's a doubleheader tomorrow. Definitely go over and support your Lady Vols. It's right across the street at Thompson Bowling Arena. And we'll see how Tennessee volleyball goes with that. They, after losing in the NC State Classic, they won against NC State. I'm so sorry, 3-0. But then they lost to Colgate before that the same day. It was another doubleheader last week, 3-1. So we'll see how Tennessee volleyball does this weekend. And yeah, I'm definitely excited about both of these teams. Probably more so soccer, just because it's exciting with like a newer coach and to see how this team's still a great program. Volleyball, however, I think this is more of a team that is getting better. I think this is a team that's going to get better throughout the season. We mentioned how they lose key players like Lily Feltz and transfers and things like that. So I think this is a team that is still building, that's still learning to work together with some new players. But I think that they could potentially be really good by the end of the season. So we'll see.
Yeah, the volleyball team. I absolutely hope so. I see them at the moment kind of in a little bit of a rebuilding year, more of a rebuilding year than I think a lot of people were expecting, which is unfortunate because, again, they're going to lose some big-time stars at the end of the year like Fingal and Natalie Hayward. They're going to graduate, unfortunately. But if Erica Lovett stays around, Tennessee's got some great freshmen that are getting a lot of surprisingly high amount of playing time, and they're doing well. So there's freshmen and sophomores all along this Lady Vols volleyball team that are contributing like already significantly, along with a couple of the senior leaders. So they're laying a good foundation for next season and the season after. And that's really, really good because, again, yeah, they're in a bit more of a rebuild than we thought they might be. But they still might end up being pretty strong by the end of the year. So we'll just have to see how it goes for the tournaments.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what this team does as well. I got to cover a little bit of that Tennessee Classic. None of those teams were pushovers that they played against either. Of course, Purdue is ranked number 13, but Loyola and Bowling Green, I mean, you wouldn't think they'd be great at volleyball necessarily because they're not a Power 5 name, but they definitely brought in some heat. I know that Loyola game, I believe Dom got to cover that one. I think that one went 5 sets. And then,
yes, sir.
Of course, we lost to Bowling Green as well. So I think the teams that Tennessee's going to see this weekend are maybe not quite that strong, so it'll be good for them to get some of these easier wins, kind of like what we saw with soccer, really, similar to that.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be down there tomorrow, 12 and 6:30 for those volleyball games. Be covering that for the radio station. Come say hi to me and come support your Lady Vols tomorrow, Thompson Bowling Arena. We're going to take a short break. We're going to be back to talk some Tennessee Titans and some NFL. Stay tuned. You're listening to Rock Solid Sports on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Newsflash. You're tuned in to 90.3 The Rock, local music's best friend in Knoxville. Scott Miller reporting.
The Rock thanks the Hill Bar and Grill for their support. The Hill on Forest Avenue is open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. until late night for dining indoors or on the expanded patio. The Hill has a variety of appetizers and a full menu of wings, burgers, tacos, and more. The Hill is our Thursday Munchie Madness sponsor and home of Friday's Rock Solid Sports. On Instagram at The Hill Knox. Menu at thehillknox.com.
They're playing basketball.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 8th season on the hardwood includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. General public ticket info for UT basketball is at allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says go Vols basketball.
Volunteer Radio thanks our on-campus media partner, UTDailyBeacon.com, for their support. The Daily Beacon has served the University of Tennessee Knoxville as the official student editorially independent newspaper since 1906, featuring up-to-date campus and city news, sports, and info on UT and Knoxville events. And the sign-up for the Beacon newsletter is on the website. The Wednesday Daily Beacon is available at over 50 locations on campus, fall and spring semesters, and stories are published daily at UTDailyBeacon.com. The Daily Beacon sponsors WUTK's UT News and Issues show Rocky Top Roundup, Thursday nights at 7 on Volunteer Radio. Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2022 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesdays through Sundays at nearby Smokies Stadium in Kodak against the Chattanooga Lookouts, Mississippi Braves, Birmingham Barons, and more. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports will cover Smokies Baseball all season long. SmokiesBaseball.com, and a link is at WUTKRadio.com.
I hate you, 90.3. Get out. Get out of here.
90.3 The Rock. When we say the music matters most, we mean it.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
There's more than one way to listen to WUTK. Of course, you can listen to us on the radio at 90.3 FM, but did you know you can stream us 3 different ways? Visit WTKradio.com and click on the Listen Live button and download the free Radio FX or TuneIn apps and search WUTK. Or just tell your phone or smart speaker, listen to 90.3 The Rock. It's easy to catch all the great modern rock, hip-hop, local music, Americana, or WTK specialty shows. However you listen, we appreciate the support. Voted Knoxville's best radio station 16 years in a row. We are Volunteer Radio.
90.3 The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. Season tickets for the 2022 UT Volunteers football season are on sale now. The next phase of Neyland Stadium renovations will be ready for the new season with home games against Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, and more. Info at allballs.com. A link is at WUTKradio.com. 90.3 The Rock wishes Coach Heupel and the football Balls good luck this season on the gridiron.
WUTK thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pregame and postgame location for UT football and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans football on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the show's live broadcast from 7 to 8 Monday nights at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page.
Hi, this is Derek and Rob from the Funhouse. It was brought to our attention that our show and the things that we do could be seen as childish and not funny, sophomoric, vapid, stupid, and a complete and utter waste of time.
We strive to bring you the most entertaining radio that we're capable of each and every week.
So won't you please continue to support us and the station? Tune in every Friday night from 8 to 10 p.m. only on 90.3 The Rock. The Funhouse. Syphilis free since 2013.
Stop by the Funhouse Friday nights from 8 till 10 only on 90.3 The Rock.
Congratulations to Rob and Derek, hosts of the Funhouse, for being voted Knoxville's finest radio personalities in the 2021 Blank Newspaper's Knoxville's Finest Readers Poll. Tune in Friday nights from 8 to 10 and find out why. The Funhouse, brought to you by Raven Records and Rarities, located in Happy Holler.
Welcome back to Rock Solid Sports on Friday night. We actually started playing this song in band at football games, Gangsta's Paradise, and I always think of this show every time we play it. Even though I knew the song before it, I'm just like, man, it's like I'm on Rock Solid Sports. But anyways, welcome back. We are sponsored by The Hill tonight, The Hill Bar and Grill. Dom is over at The Hill tonight. Dom, how's it going? This is your last check-in, so let people know what they need to know so they can be convinced to go on down there tonight.
You know, it's going amazing. You can come in here a sad, broken man, and when you leave, you'll be happier than ever. The TVs are amazing. They have the best sports on. They have the best food. They have the best drinks. Anything you want is at the Hill, and you need to get down here, or else you're really missing out, because this is the place to be in Knoxville.
That's the best I've ever heard anyone put it.
Come in a sad, broken man.
And you can leave a different man. Or person for that matter. Let's get in. Yeah, definitely head on down to the Hill. Don't miss Dom. He's about to be out of here in just a few minutes, but if you do, that's okay. Stick around. They have great food, great drinks, and just a great atmosphere for sure. It's a great day today too. They have a great patio as well. Great weather. So we're getting into some NFL here. The Titans play this Sunday, September 11th. They play the Giants, and this is their first matchup. NFL has begun. Super exciting. Let's get into it. So Titans take on the Giants. This is going to be a win, right?
Yeah.
What do we think?
I really, really hope it's a win, because if not, that means we're losing to Daniel Jones, and you don't want to lose to a guy that trips over himself when there's nobody within 15 yards of him when he's running on a 70-yard run to the end zone.
Dimes.
Yep, Danny Dimes. That's right. But yeah, I mean, the Giants just offensively are a pain to watch sometimes, really because of Danny Dimes. I mean, Saquon Barkley, he should be a great running back, but it feels like he's injured every other game because he hasn't got a line to protect him. That's part of the problem. But then also, I think he's just become injury prone as is. So, I mean, Ben McAdoo really wrecked the Giants a couple of years ago. Joe Judge did absolutely nothing to help them out. And I got to be honest, Brian Dable, in some of the pictures I've seen, he just looks really depressed as the Giants head coach right now. Obviously, it's a new era in Tennessee with some of the offensive weapons. Of course, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones both departed in the offseason. So it's going to be interesting to see what we can do offensively in this game. But it feels like this has to be a win for Tennessee, though, because the NFC East, if it's not the Cowboys you're playing, you ought to be winning that game.
Well, one thing that does make me nervous about, just a little bit nervous about the Giants for this game is Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, both are in prove it years where they have to have a good year, otherwise they're canned, otherwise they're done for. Obviously, running backs, their shelf life is not very long, but even for quarterbacks, if you're not cutting it in the first 3 seasons, you're not going to get a very big deal. You might be able to stick around as a backup, but that is it. The narrative about you is always going to be, okay, just back up, maybe make a few million. But if you can get to that big second contract, then you're set. So that's what makes me nervous, is that the Titans secondary really needs to show out, because Daniel Jones, I think, is going to try to have a huge game, because he needs to have a big season, and they want to make a big statement against the Titans, because now people see the Titans as a formidable team. They finished number 1 in the AFC last season. I think nobody sees the Titans as just this pushover team that they used to be. And considering that they had all offseason to prepare for this game since it's week 1, there's a lot to be nervous about. However, I can't pick the Titans to lose this game. I think the Titans are just the far superior team on paper. They've got the better offensive line, the better defense overall, the better quarterback, the better running game. I got to pick the Titans to win this one. They just look like the better coached team as well. That's a huge difference. Vrabel, of course, one of the best coaches in football. So I can't pick against the Titans, but I don't want to say the Giants will be an absolute pushover either, just because their big stars need to have big years.
I have to go back to a comment Chris made a few minutes ago that I didn't see about the Dominic saying you can go into the hill broken man. He said, who knew the hill was like Vegas? Anyways, back to the Titans. Dom, speaking of Dom, is there anything that concerns you about this matchup, like Devin was kind of getting at?
I think there's a good team coming out of New York, but I don't think it's the Giants. I think the Jets actually look pretty decent this
Really?
year. I saw them in preseason. And
I agree with that.
It just seems like their culture has shifted a bit, and they actually care about football now. Giants, on the other hand, I'm not very confident in. I think that's the easy Titans victory, and I don't think anybody should be concerned.
Dom, you think Zach Wilson's got that dog in him?
He does. The Mormon man is on a mission.
Well, we'll have to see come Sunday. Any final score predictions we have for this Titans matchup? Tucker, go ahead.
I think this is going to be a fairly low-scoring game. I like Tennessee to probably score somewhere around, I don't know, maybe 20, 21 points. It's not going to be a super pretty offensive affair. And I think, maybe you give up a touchdown at the most is what I feel like. I feel like this could be like a 20-3 final score or something like that. Because I think, maybe the Giants will definitely find a way to score points. It may not be the end zone, though. That's kind of what I'm thinking for this one.
Dom?
My score, I'm going to say, well, I can't say Titans by 100, but I'll take them at 24-10, actually. It just feels like a nice round number for this game. I don't think either team cares too much about this matchup, so I don't see the Titans beating them down. But I also don't see the Giants giving up too easy. So I can see a real nice scoreline of just 24-10.
Devin?
Dom, you took the score right from me there. That's a good score prediction, Dom. As we know, Dom makes really good score predictions. He made some good ones on our college football podcast, Nealon's Basement, which we upload every Thursday. As you can go check out on Spotify, where we break down all the big college football games. But yeah, Dom, of course, makes really good score predictions. I'm gonna roll with that also. I can't go against Dom's score predictions. They're too good. So I'm gonna go 24-10 also.
That's what I was going to say before Dom even said it, guys. Just kidding. 24-10. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Or 21-10. But Devin has me sold that Dom is the score prediction god. So 24-10, Titans. Everyone have a great weekend. Go cheer on the Vols. Go cheer on the Titans. And we'll see you on Monday for our Monday show. Thanks for tuning into Rock Solid Sports on 90.3 The Rock, sponsored by The Hill Bar and Grill.